I think. Yeah, we're on now. We're on Facebook. Hello, Facebook. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Phil. How are we doing today?
Doing all right, Chase. Thank you.
All right, that's awesome.
We got a little bit of rain coming towards us here in San Diego, which
Yeah,
for us is an event.
I'd like to welcome you all to Smart With Your Money Live. I am Chase Peckham. I am the Director of Community Outreach at the San Diego Financial Literacy Center, the education arm of DebtWave Credit Counseling. As always, every other week for our Smart With Our Money Lives, we are joined by my cohort, Felipe Arevalo, who is the coordinator of Community Outreach. And this week, we're going to talk about scam alerts, protecting your identity and your money. And this is a big topic, especially this last year in COVID. It seems that, Felipe, that, man, scams have just gone over the top.
It's on the rise. And I'll point out a news report I saw earlier this morning. We can expect for it to get worse in the remainder of 2021. So it's a real topic, and it's very important to just be on the lookout and kind of go over some of the things that you might need to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, and remind you, and we're going to go over a lot of them. These are the most popular ones, but man, there are a lot of them.
Yeah, there's too many for us to cover all of them, but definitely be on the lookout. And they're ever evolving, and it's something going into it here is they can happen at any time. Literally any time of day or night, you could fall victim to a scam. Is if you're on the phone, if you're on the internet, if you're just walking around or minding your own business at home. Anyone can really be a target. There's different scams targeted for different individuals, but there's one out there for you. So it's important to just always be vigilant and on the lookout.
Probably a couple out there for you.
Yeah, there probably is. There's definitely multiple ones that you probably fit into. They often, as Chase mentioned, they increase during financially challenging times. Right now during COVID, and that's part of the reason, Chase, where the credit bureaus have allow us to pull our credit reports weekly now, because the amount of fraud and scams and misinformation out there, where it's just an extra added benefit to always be on the lookout and always be paying attention. And they're always changing. You think you got the latest scam.
Like everything else, right? It's, the crooks and they're always like one step ahead. They're planning this out. So they're always going to come up with new things and new targets. So it's just a matter of just honestly trying to be on your toes all the time. And if I'm just going to say this right off the top because it's true. If it seems like it's too good to be true because they prey on people that are in terrible times, if it's too good to be true, it is. I mean, just think of it that way.
Something to remember too, most scam victims once said at some point before they fell victims to a scam said, I won't fall for that, or that they'll never get me with that. Well, much like we're saying today, much like maybe we've said in the past, none of us are immune to it. And in that moment of naiveness, or you get carried away with the moment and well, this is the best opportunity ever.
Just ask Jared, our IT guy.
Right. Yeah, our IT guy's always on it. You see it on the news all the time. So you can fall victim to it. And as Chase mentioned, the scam can come from anywhere at any time. So if you're asking yourself, is this a scam? Like, I don't know, is this a scam? Then usually it's a scam.
Look into it. Google it.
Look into it more.
Typically, the internet will get right on top of it very quickly.
Yeah, do some research. But then when you're on the internet, if you're looking into a scam, make sure you're at a reputable site. Make sure that the site isn't spelled just slightly different, right. where you end up at a website that looks like a trusted website we've all been to, but there's an extra A or just an extra letter that they snuck in there. If it's too good to be true, make sure that you're on the lookout for those.
Absolutely. And when you say that the perpetrator can be anybody, it really can be. And we're going to go through that, and we'll mention this a few times as we go through the different scams we're going to cover.
Yeah. So the first one, and I think, in my opinion, the most saddening scam that's out there, the one that just bothered me the most and angered me the most, is when it comes from a trusted family
Yeah.
member or a trusted individual, who you least expect it from, who comes in and takes something, whether it be because they have access from, they may have access to your personal information, they may just know it off the top of your head. It's there. It could be, a caretaker, a parent, a child. We've seen and heard of all of the above. So it's important to, it's sad that you have to be on, that this is even a slide that needs to be put on there. But unfortunately, because we see it so much, it can happen through.
It does. And that's why so many organizations, it really makes it hard for those of us who are really trying to take care of a sick family member or an elderly parent, because they do get taken advantage of. And the government and different programs out there are very, very particular and very, very concerned with that, because they see it far too often, unfortunately.
Yeah, if I ever try and help my grandpa with something, make an appointment at the doctor's or something, because we have the same name, it just makes it so confusing.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Wait, you're Felipe calling to make an appointment for Felipe?"
Yeah.
I don't know that works. And so I just thankfully let my cousins help out with that. But it's just be on the lookout, and they have to be on the lookout, because of regulations and whatnot.
Absolutely.
Next one, it's a popular one.
This is super popular.
It's just the lottery or sweepstakes scam. You get a call or an email letting you know that you've won the lottery in Belgium, in Canada, in
other countries,
some other country you maybe never even been to, or maybe one that you did visit. If you've never bought a lottery ticket in Canada, you're not going to win the Canadian lottery.
And they're not going to ask you to go to this website. They're not going to ask you to give so they can put it to you in your bank account. It's just,
they're not going to ask you for your bank account routing number so that they can go ahead and drop money into your account. Or
if it falls from the sky, chances are really, really good that it's not legit.
Yeah, they're not going to ask you to call and, you've won a car. All you have to do is pay license, title, and registration. And you're sitting there thinking, well, I pay that when I buy a car.
Right.
So maybe it's something where I pay it when I win a car. But no, because now you've just given up that money, and then you're not going to receive anything in return. So you want to be careful with that.
Without question.
This is one for you homeowners out there. Home
you
repair.
Probably noticed in COVID about this, because I'm home obviously so much more. It feels like I get, and especially in COVID, you would think people aren't going to the door because they don't want to be close to you.
Right.
But it's unreal how many people come to the door trying to sell us something.
It's something that it happens all the time, but you're right. It seems like you would think that they would, tone it down a little during COVID. But no, they knock on your door. Hey, do you need your roof changed? Hey, do you need work on your driveway, or we do windows or solar, or you name it. And this can go a lot of different ways. I'm sure there's legitimate companies that'll go out there and do it for you, but you really want to do your research. Does that individual even work for the company that they're claiming to represent? Is that company legitimate? And I'm sorry, it's loud on my side.
You sound good.
Do I sound good?
Yes.
Okay, good. Is it something where, maybe they don't even work for that company and they're just trying to, hey, just put a deposit. We'll be back next week. We'll get started. You put the down deposit and then you never hear from them again.
Right. And I have to tell you, there's these people that will come that are legit, right? And they are working hard. They are doing anything they can to work as hard as they can to bring in an income for their families. But almost never are they going to ask you, especially for home repairs and that kind of thing, they're never going to ask you for a deposit up front. If they're going to ask you if you want to, if they want to make an appointment, if you're going to talk to somebody else, they're going to give you a deal because you talked to so-and-so at the door. then it might be legit. But for the most part, this is big. I've had 2 or 3 people come around and tell me that my gutters are bad and that the bottom of my house is peeling off, and that the government is going to come. I'm going to get fined because the city's going to say that it's not up to code. Be really careful of that.
All right. And the next one. The grandparent scam. This is one, it's particularly targeted to the elderly, but it can happen to anyone, where there's a call comes in and says, hey, your grandson, granddaughter, son, daughter, whoever, or maybe even the opposite way, your elderly grandparent is in a bind, is injured, is something, and you can help them out if you just send over some money. Or
I'm calling on behalf of your grandson.
Right, calling on behalf of, and this is important one to remember with social media. Sometimes it's not very hard to figure out who's traveling where. You don't even have to know the individual to, oftentimes, if the social media settings aren't set at a strict enough measure, you might know, or you might be putting out there that you're in another country or another part of the another state or something, traveling. They call in the middle of the night. Elderly grandparent picks up and they hear that their loved one who's traveling in this country has some kind of injury and they need, and they may
medical bills or something.
Right, they may in the moment, without thinking, say, oh, of course I'm going to help them. Why wouldn't I? How can I help?
Yeah.
So something to keep in mind.
Absolutely. And in fairness, for people like my father, for instance, who uses his phone strictly for phone calls because he doesn't know how to use it. So he's not looking at social media. He doesn't know any of that stuff. But just be on your toes. If you get a call like that, and I'm the kind of person that if I don't recognize the number, I don't answer it. And if it's important, they'll leave a message.
Right. Yeah, that's my thing. If you're not in my phone book and you give me a call, you're gonna have to leave me a message because it's just not gonna happen. But something to keep in mind, maybe make aware to loved ones. I've actually had my mom a few years back got a call saying that I was en route to the hospital and that I needed $1,000. Thankfully, she didn't fall for it, but she called me in a panic. What's wrong? I'm at work. What's up, Mom? And it was that she's just gotten this call that I was randomly. I was like, Mom, we're in San Diego, here in California. If I'm on the way to the hospital, no one's going to call you for $1,000. Even if I didn't have any money on me or health insurance, no one's going to call you in the heat of the moment to ask you for money. Thankfully, she didn't fall for it, but it does happen.
My grandfather got it with magazines and all that kind of stuff at the end of his life because he would get all these, they'd give him prizes or give hhim these cool things that come with it. And, he's sitting at home all day and he's bored and he would sign up for all this stuff. How much money he gave them was, finally we had the FBI calling us because it was a big deal.
Yeah, that's, and you're right. Or they're sitting there home shopping or whatever it is, and they don't even realize what they're signing up for. Big one. I know I said the first one is the one that bothers me the most, but on a day-to-day basis, this one annoys me to no end. And I know I've talked to Chase about it. I mentioned it to my wife and she said, this is those robocalls, the telemarketing scams. How many times have you been called about your vehicle's warranty? You may not even have a car. And
literally 6 days, 7 days a week.
Yeah. Or the IRS is looking to sue you and they're sending the cops after you right now. There's a warrant out for your arrest because of your taxes or whatever. You don't want to fall. And this is the reason I don't answer calls when the number's not in my phone book, because it's something like this. The IRS is not going to call you to let you know you're going to be arrested. The IRS wants to get a hold of you. They're going to mail you something and communicate with you that way.
Absolutely.
And it's not like you messed up on your taxes, you're going to be arrested. That's not how it works. If you just made a mistake on your taxes. But I was actually on the news this morning. I saw that one robocall expert estimated that there will be about 70 billion total spam calls in America this year. It's a lot of calls, and it's annoying. And on the rise, Chase was mentioning this yesterday, it's estimated there will be 90 billion spam text messages because we all text now in the US. And that's 60% more than last year. They had a rough year last year, spammers, where they didn't make enough money. And now they're working on trying to catch up. And how do you do that? You increase more of the volume of calls you're making. And that was on a local news station here, 10 News, this morning.
Never click on a link. Never click on a link if it's from somebody you don't know, if it's not from an organization you know, even if it's from an organization you know, don't click on it, because they can get a hold of your phone and then they got everything in your phone. So
I got one.
Really be careful.
I got one. I guess it was last year because I would have known being at home. But it was like, this is from Amazon. We're at your door. Please confirm that we should leave your package. Click here. And
they don't.
I had an Amazon package on the way, but then I was thinking, they've never done this before. They just either leave it at the door or don't leave it at the door. So I didn't click on it. Came home, the Amazon package was still at the door. So I think it was spam, but it just be.
It might not have been, but why take the chance?
Right, exactly. So I block spam. If I get a spam call, I block it. If I get a spam text, I block the number. I actually counted on this phone. I have over 50 blocked numbers. They just keep coming. So
numbers from all over the country. It's really nuts.
Yeah, sometimes they look very similar to your own number.
Right.
Then we have, maybe you're online, some internet fencing, and this one is, you get an email. It looks like it's from a company you trust, Apple, Amazon, Walmart, Target, whoever. But it's just maybe one letter off, just a little bit different than what you normally are used to.
And your spam filter might not get it.
Might sneak through, and then you go, oh, wow. Oh, something's wrong with my Amazon order. Let me just click right here. And you could be potentially, giving away your personal information when you're shopping online or doing things like that. Make sure you're on the site you think you are on.
Yes. Raise over the top of it on the URL. So
make sure you have the little lock, and the lock is closed, or if you think you're on one of these major websites, make sure you're on the major website, whether it be Walmart, Target, Costco, whoever you shop with, and just be on the lookout there. There's a gift scam fraud. If someone calls you and tells you to go ahead and pay for something, anything via gift card, be on the lookout. And we saw another one where an individual had maybe just started a job. I think we saw this. Katie sent us this article. Someone had just started a job, and they got an email or text message from someone they thought was someone within their organization saying, go down, get some gift cards and send me the numbers real quick. Luckily, they looked into it further, but if you send that gift card information, they can wipe out the balance of the gift card, and you're out that money, and there's really very little you could do.
Gift card scam's a huge thing right now.
Which one?
Gift card scam. It's really, really, really big. It's people are falling for it left and right.
Yeah, other scams that you might think of, other questions. I think we have one question from Facebook. Chase, here's the question. If you notice fraudulent charges on your credit card, how long do you have to report these?
There's no real time limit on it. When you notice it, you want to get to it right away, obviously as fast as you can. But when it comes to reporting something to your direct company, so like let's say it's Chase and you have a fraudulent, you want to report it as fast as possible that you don't notice it. But there really is no time limit on it like there is if you're going to the bureaus. That's a whole different kind of deal. Most of the time, and we're lucky this way that a lot of times Visa, MasterCard, American Express, they're getting really good at catching odd purchases. They're getting good at catching fraudulent, but still we need to be on top of it. But as soon as you catch it, they'll typically put a freeze on it, get you a new card real quick.
Yeah, it's oftentimes, like Chase mentioned, they'll catch it. The credit card companies, your bank, your credit union, might catch it before you even have a chance to notice what's going on.
Right.
Just because if there's a purchase all of a sudden that just doesn't fit your normal spending habits.
But that question brings it up right now. We don't have to wait for our monthly spending to come in. You can look online at any time and check your charges, as long as you and your spouse, because you don't know, like there's a lot of times my wife will buy something that I don't know if she went and shopped for that. So we'll get together and we'll go, is this legit? And then, whether we have an argument over the purchases is a whole other story. But, if it's not legit, then, we need to, you need to get on top of that quickly. Good question.
Yeah, it's always, and you want to be wary of like small little transactions that you don't recognize. That $1 or $2 charge might be a precursor to a much larger fraud charge.
Especially how many people will spend $3, $4, or $5 on a credit card? Maybe a debit card, but you really need to check for that. But that's what they're doing. They're checking to see if it's legit and if anybody's watching.
When my wife started when I went with her to like her baby appointments back when she was pregnant, you have to pay for parking, and the easiest way to pay is with a card. But then I started seeing these, like one day I opened up my card and I started seeing there's $3, $4 charges, and I was like, oh no, I have fraud in my account because I didn't recognize the little, and then I realized it was just parking. So other than that, small charges. We have another question here. If you have a common name, are you more likely to have errors on your credit report? Absolutely. It's something where if you have a common name, if you share a name or a similar name with family members, you are far more likely to have errors on your credit report. And it may not be maliciously, it could just be human error that you have someone else's information on your report. So if you have a very common name, especially if you have a very common first and last name combination, be on the lookout. And that's why we tell people always be checking your credit reports at least once a year. I know a lot of your credit card banks, those kinds of places offer you your credit score for free on a monthly basis. If you're a client of DebtWaves, you can always call in and talk to the credit coach and once a year and have them go over your credit in more detail. But always be on the lookout. And if you see a significant change in your credit score, then you need to go check your credit report because something changed.
Absolutely. Another thing to really look at too is if, sometimes it's just you make mistakes. Sometimes you do click on something that you didn't need, that you didn't mean to. So if your computer is starting to slow down, if it's not acting right, if your phone, all of a sudden things are going a little weird, that's something to look into, get it checked, because you don't know when you have a spam, and so it's good to look at it.
Yeah, and there's another scam that brought to mind is if someone calls you and lets you know they can fix your computer for you, or they found some kind of error, all you have to do is give me remote access. I'll fix it for you real quick. This is Apple. This is Microsoft. This is whoever. Yeah. Don't give them remote access, because now they can go ahead and steal all your personal information, passwords, and all that stuff from your computer. And really, as great as Apple and Microsoft are, they're not on the lookout to see which one of our computers is acting up.
If it's unsolicited,
it's probably not accurate. So don't give access you give that remote access, you've given away so much possible information. Chase, we have one more question here. If I lost money due to ID theft, am I always out the money?
No, you shouldn't be, especially with credit cards. Credit cards are typically, the banks and the lenders, they know that these kinds of things are going to happen. And if they catch it fast enough, I mean, even then, they're going to reward you. I mean, some credit cards you might, let's say you are out $300 on a purchase. Typically, they're going to cover that. And they'll cover it even if it's high. That's just part of the deal with those because they're insured. I mean, that's typically the part. And they also bank that into their budgets. They know that there's going to be a certain amount of losses regarding that, but it's their responsibility to make sure that your credit cards are not compromised. If you're using their machines, whatever. Now we also, we live in the world of the internet. We're going to put credit cards down. So if you're ever going to do purchases online, do not use your debit card. Don't put your debit card online because some banks, when it comes out of your bank account, it may not be as easy to get your money back. They're getting better at it. And usually they'll catch these kinds of things, but you might be out. My brother, a number of years ago, he went and used an ATM machine that wasn't Wells Fargo. He got, where he put it in and they had a slider in there, a skimmer where it got his information and he lost over $1,000 in his checking account. And thank goodness he didn't have it connected to his savings account so they could just overdraft him and then he gets all those penalties and everything else. But Wells Fargo argued that it was his mistake because he used an ATM machine that wasn't theirs. Now that was a number of years ago, so things have changed a bit, but still it's better to be careful. It's better to have somebody steal the credit card, the bank's money, remember you're borrowing that, you're going to pay it back, than it is your actual money coming out of your bank account. It's a great question.
Dealing with like a full-fledged ID theft, that is a criminal matter. So there's going to be legal
absolutely
action. You'll have to speak to your local authorities and all that and start the legal procedure. That's so much more in depth than credit card fraud or most of these other frauds. In some cases, this is a legal matter where there's official police reports and official documents that need to be filed and follow-ups, and it could be a very lengthy process.
Yeah, this is an old scam too, but I'll bring it up. But we know it still happens. It's just not as popular anymore. But there is something called skimming, where they'll put in this teeny little reader into like a gas pump reader or something like that, where you'll stick it in, you pull it out, you'll never even know it's there, and so when you go to use any of those kinds of things, check to see if it's loose. Check to see if there's anything maybe in there. If it's loose, do not put it in there because these companies are really good at checking and making sure that there's no skimmers and all that kind of stuff in there. But if it's been, if it's scraped up and it's really, really check and make sure that it's secure because if not, it could have been jerry-rigged and that could be in there.
Yeah, and it's something with today's cards with the RFID chip where even someone could walk by you with a scanner or a reader and they can potentially take some of the information off your RFID enabled cards contact free, stand next to you in a subway.
That's why I don't use that, by the way. I won't use that. I turn mine off. I don't allow that. I don't tap and go. It makes me too nervous.
Yeah, but if they have the little chip, can you disable it?
Yeah.
I mean, if the chip's there,
not working.
Yeah, even if you're not actually actively using it, if you're holding it in like your money clip or your purse or something like that, it could potentially be swiped away that way.
Are there any other questions that anybody has for us? We're coming up on our time, but we would love to answer questions if we can.
If you are interested in continuing to learn about various topics on personal finances, be sure to please check out our podcast. It's called Talk Wealth to Me. You can get it anywhere you get your other favorite podcasts. Be sure to like us, follow us, give us a review. We try and put out a weekly episode on Friday.
So excited for our interview today. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, the interview today is going to be a good one. So this Friday's episode is going to be good. And also stay tuned because we are looking to put together a podcast episode on this very topic. and that should be coming soon.
We're
So
going to talk about how to buy a car, what to look for, your rights, and then car fraud, vehicle fraud. How much is out there, what your rights as a consumer are when you're purchasing a car. We're going to be meeting with a consumer protection attorney who really, her expertise is in lemon law and vehicle fraud. So it's going to be really exciting.
Should be a good one. And someone mentioned if we can email the link of the recording, we can email you a link if you drop your email. Also, this recording will be available on the DebtWave Facebook page, on the DebtWave Instagram, on our Facebook page, the San Diego Financial Literacy Center, and on YouTube as well, and on the DebtWave site itself.
Yep,
there's a section on there as well. But if you are interested in having us email you the link, just drop your email there in the chat and we will be sure to do so once that is set up. But it is on the website and all the social media platforms.
Absolutely. Phil, this was fun.
It was. And we got another one coming up. Spring into action, clean your financial household. Spring cleaning time. And we're getting a little rain today, but spring is right around the corner officially, I guess. I don't think us in San Diego really ever got a winter, but that's usually the case for us. But cleaning up your financial household, little tips, things you can consider, things to do.
And maybe even make a little bit of money while you're cleaning. Maybe.
And have some fun. Cleaning can be fun.
Says you. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I tell my kids. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thanks
for joining us.
All right, Phil, we'll see you.
We'll see you.